You want to? Hey, Tilly, you stay here. I think people are looking for an alternative, and I think our challenge is how do we get people to let go of the fear? And that's been the challenge, I think, in this country for the past 5 years. How do we get them to let go of the fear and vote instead for hope, for faith in the future, for somebody who inspires them, for somebody they like? And I think my candidacy comes at a time when I'm running against the two least popular people who have ever run. Each of them could win a contest for the least popular candidate that's ever run for a major political party in modern history. They're both candidates who believe in censorship, who mismanaged COVID, who ran up the debt disastrously. And I offer a clear alternative to the American people, to both of them. Listen, I'm not a fan of President Trump's. I'm running against him. I intend to beat him in this election. I want to beat him on a level playing field. I don't want to beat him because of a court case. I want to beat him because more Americans voted for me. And I don't want to deprive Americans of their ability to vote. My family has a long history with Joe Biden. Joe Biden has a bust of my father behind him at the Oval Office. There are 5 members of my family who work for the Biden administration or directly with the Biden administration. There are many, many others who are running NGOs that have relationships with the government. And I understand that my candidacy, my challenge of President Biden is troubling to them. I don't begrudge them their right to disagree with it. 2024, the Democratic Party has radically changed. I don't think my father, my uncle would ever recognize it. It's become the party of war. It's become the party of Wall Street. It's become the party of censorship. It's become the party of big pharma. It's become the party of the wealthy elites against the middle class, and is derisive and contemptuous toward middle class Americans. And I think that's my initial hope in entering this race as a Democrat was to recall the party to its original values and to its traditions. But unfortunately, the party leaders made it impossible for me to compete in that contest, and so I had to leave the party. I would say a dramatic impact on me, like it did on, I think, everybody. It was unprecedented. I've been looking for somebody who has good values, who has an open mind, who has high intelligence and inquisitive curiosity, and who shares my values on issues like ending the war machine, bringing down the national debt, on regenerative agriculture, on ending the chronic disease epidemic in our country, on resuscitating the middle class, all of those issues. I think it's important to find somebody who's like myself outside of the system, because I think the people within that system have brought us the national debt. I think I want somebody who is able to look at new ideas and doesn't have the limitations of believing that we need to continue to spend more than the 10 next nations combined on our military budget. That there's an alternative to that. That there's an alternative to running up a $34 trillion debt.
So we have this podcast coming up, and
Okay.
so this is one of the most interesting quotes that he said.
It's not that bad. It's something like
No, it's something totally different now.
Listen, I don't like the Netanyahu government, and I don't like Netanyahu. I don't like Likud. And I've been very, very critical of the judicial reforms. I think the radicals in every country feed on each other, and you see that dynamic in Israel. So I don't like that. But I think Israel needs to be able to either get a lot of support from the international community and an initiative from the international community to cut off Hamas from Qatar, from President Sisi, and Egypt from President Erdogan, and Turkey. I think if we had that, if we had a president who was calling those leaders and was calling Sisi and Putin and saying, let's help do this, let's put an end to Hamas ourselves so the Israelis don't have to, and then the Israelis wouldn't need to fight. But what we've done instead, the world community has isolated Israel and said, you're on your own. And I think as long as Israel is in that position, its only choice is to destroy Hamas.
So
I don't even know what that means right now. A temporary ceasefire. I mean, Israel was in a ceasefire on October 7th. There's been 5 ceasefires, and each one has been used by Hamas to rearm, to rebuild, and to and then launch another surprise attack. So what would be different this time? I think Israel understands that for everybody to progress, Hamas has to be destroyed. I mean, my opinions are fact-based. I'm not concerned about whether people disagree with me. If somebody shows me that I'm wrong about an issue, I'm going to change my opinion. But let's talk about facts. Hey. Come here. Americans should be communicating with each other in the way that they see fit. There are millions and millions of people who use TikTok, and particularly young people. And TikTok has become a place where people can inform each other. It's a news site. It's an opinion site. It's a site where people are building businesses, and we need that in our country. And, I think part of the antagonism toward TikTok is that it's become a place where there's a lot of political dissent expressed, and particularly against the current White House. Oh, I think the last thing, there's a lot of other really important security concerns that we ought to be addressing before we get to TikTok. We should, the last place that we need to create constraints is a place where our freedom of speech, freedom of expression is exercised. We saw the government actively censoring or ordering social media sites to censor Americans. Well, I think it has to be a woman's right, throughout the pregnancy. I think I've seen pictures of late-term abortions and it's horrible, but I don't think that there's any woman in the world who would want to carry a baby to 8 months and then have an abortion. There has to be some kind of really dramatic, extenuating circumstances in every case that happens. And so again, I just don't feel comfortable giving the government power over those kind of decisions. I think it has to remain between a woman, her pastor, her psychiatrist, her spiritual advisors, and nobody wants to do that. No human being in the world would want to do that. So I think there's plenty of incentive for people not doing it.
Deb and I are both from the East Coast.
Yeah, we've been just enjoying the vitamin D.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty fun not having to shovel snow. I'd shut down the border.
How would you do that?
Well, I think there's 27 gaps in the wall, you don't need a wall, which I think was President Trump's plan, 2,200 miles from Brownsville, Texas to San Diego. But in the urban areas where immigrants can come across and disappear very, very, in seconds, literally, you need a physical barrier. And then in the rural areas, we need fencing with sensors, with ground sensors, with long-range cameras, with lights and video, and we need to shut it down. And there's other things that we need to do. There's other policies that I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that we reinstate the Migrant Protection Act so that people with asylum claims will await adjudication in Mexico and not come across the border. I will end the catch and release program and reinstate the catch and return program. I'll make sure that there are adequate asylum judges at the border.
Discussions between the Biden administration and steel has been forefront of the news right now. Can you talk about how you would approach fighting climate change while...
My safety is irrelevant in my decision making. And as I think it was with my father and my uncle, as it is with people with the thousands of men and women who fought in the Revolutionary War, who fought in the Civil War, who fought in all of our wars, that there's a cost to freedom that all of us need to be able to be willing to pay if we're going to keep it for our children. Oh, I'm not stupid about my safety. I take precautions.
Doing this protest, seems like fitness is pretty important to you. Do you have sort of a weekly ritual, or?
Yeah, I mean, I hike every day. I hike with these guys every day, and then I go to the gym for about 35 minutes every day.
And I saw that video of you doing a backflip into a lake. What was that about?
Yeah, but you guys just came here instead.
Yes.